you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away, as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music.
Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope you're all keeping well in the world right now. Just because Stu's been away this week, wasn't quite sure what was going to be happening, so I've done a little bit of a solo-y podcast, but he will be joining me later on in the episode where we'll be reviewing the new Superman, and then we'll be talking about the Frozen Ground Nick Cage film. Because Superman obviously being the big release of the summer, probably, I thought really we should have a look back and see how we got here, because this is not the first time that DC have tried to create their own universe, is it? So we've been here a couple of times actually previously where they wanted to do what Marvel did, and actually they tried to start this shared universe way back in 2002, long before the MCU was even around. After years of pretty much being the only game in town as well, because we had 3 good Batman films, we had 3 good Superman films with Chris Reeves. However, both of those gave us a pretty piss-poor fourth outing. So Warner Brothers wanted to start something new and build. There is, of course, the failed Nick Cage Superman Lives and Darren Aronofsky's Batman Year One. But ultimately, WB hired Wolfgang Peterson in 2002 to direct a Batman-Superman crossover film, which would then spawn sequels leading into the Justice League. However, these ideas went nowhere pretty much, and eventually WB decided to concentrate on individual reboots. This led us on to Batman Begins, which made absolutely no attempts at branching out and building into a larger world. And then a latter failed attempt recreating Christopher Reeves's universe with the terrible Brandon Routh Superman Returns. Probably be touching on that again shortly. With hopes still of creating a larger DC Comics universe, Warner Brothers hired George Miller, the director of that little-known Australian independent film Mad Max, and of course the much more impressive Happy Feet and Babe. He was hired to helm Justice League Mortal. They even got as far as hiring Armie Hammer, Jay Baruchel, Adam Brody, Common. Justice League Mortal got a decent way into pre-production, and like if you do a quick Google search, you will see images of the Batcowl which they designed, the latex suit that was made for the Martian Manhunter. There's quite a few team photos and stuff out there if you want to find it, and of course the script is available online, and it's pretty good. It's loosely based on Justice League: The Tower of Babel storyline by Mark Waid, which is a must-read book if you're even vaguely interested in the world of comic books. It's one of the better ones. However, the 07-08 GA strike and the revocation of tax breaks offered by the Australian government saw the WB put this film initially on hold and then eventually just outright cancelled. At the same time, Iron Man hit with the teases for the Avengers, giving rise to huge excitement. And in their own home, The Dark Knight had been a $1 billion smash for Warner Brothers, which appears to have given them the idea that dark and gritty was the way to go for them, especially as it would distinguish themselves from their comic book rivals in Marvel, who offered a much lighter and comedic fare. Before we get into the Snyder of it all, though, Warner Brothers had made a few failed attempts at getting something going, but it was just misfire after misfire, at least on the big screen, because their animated division was pumping out some of the best superhero stuff you will ever see. However, throughout the 21st century, in live action, outside of the Bat world, Warner Brothers were running on fumes. Like, we had Catwoman, which was a multiple Razzie Award-winning film. It was terrible. Constantine, or Time, because they didn't want to give it the correct name, did they? It just sort of floundered and then ultimately went nowhere. I know there's been rumours of bringing Keanu Reeves back, but I don't see it, because I don't see how it's really going to work without completely scrubbing the decks and acting like the first film never happened. Superman Returns, which cast Brandon Routh as the returning Man of Steel and made him into a bit of a lecherous pervert. It's like the scenes where he's just hanging around outside Lois Lane's house, perving on her. It's not a good look for a man who is supposed to be an unimpeachable, impeccable centre of morals. It didn't work. Jonah Hex, another swing and a miss. Watchmen, which obviously that was never going to feed into a large DC universe, but that did okay, and I think okay enough for them to ultimately tie their wagon to Zack Snyder's world. But it was during Watchmen that Zack Snyder said that he had no interest in a non-deconstructed superhero film. Like, he even spoke about if he was given Batman, he would have Bruce Wayne thrown in jail and raped. So I don't fully understand why he was then given the keys to the kingdom on this one. Bizarre choice. And of course, Green Lantern, which is a big fuck you, Ryan Reynolds, acting like that film is beneath you when your entire Deadpool run is the exact same shtick that you were doing there. You can say the Green Lantern shit, but you've done nothing better. It's all the same nonsense. Then in 2013, the DCEU was born. Before I get into that, what a terrible name that was. We had the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You could quite easily have done that with just going with the DCU, which obviously we now have, or even the DCCU. The DCEU, the Extended Universe, sounds so clumsy and almost sounds like you've misspoken. Just from a pure phonic point of view, it doesn't particularly work well. It doesn't roll off the tongue very nicely. Again, just another strange decision that was made here. Now, as much as I love Christopher Nolan, he has to take his share of the blame for this. Warner Brothers initially wanted Nolan to helm their shared universe. However, Nolan, he's not much of a collaborator, it seems, when it comes to films. Like, his films are, generally speaking, a singular vision. And when creating a universe, he felt that his singular vision would probably be at odds with the more fantastical nature of what would be required for the DCEU. So whilst Nolan stuck around to gain a producer credit, he was the one who ultimately recommended that WB pick up Zack Snyder to direct their new world. Nolan was a big fan, apparently, of Watchmen, which does have very good visual aspects, so I can sort of see where he's coming from with that. But ultimately, The Watchmen was just an almost shot-for-shot remake of what already existed. So when it comes to Zack Snyder, a lot of his work, especially to this point, when he was working off somebody else's script, he was doing okay. Then we have stuff like the Owls. Is it the Guardians of Ga'Hoole with the owls? And then we have Sucker Punch, which is one of the absolute dirt worst films of that size that you will ever see. It was an interesting choice, and one that ultimately proved to be fatal to the DCEU, I believe. So when you throw the success of Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, David S. Goyer, the man behind Wesley Snipes' Blade films, and of course Zack Snyder, Warner Brothers had gone all in on the dark and gritty triumvirate here. Dark and gritty for fucking Superman. The big blue Boy Scout, the sweet, well-mannered, selfless, compassionate, moral centre of the entire universe. The character which, if you get wrong, would probably screw the entire franchise. And they made him a killer whose father told him that, no, you don't have to save everybody. The DCEU was doomed from day one. There's no question about it. And I'm all in for exploring different sides of well-established characters. However, Clark's place in the DCU world is so central, so integral, that whatever you do with him will cast his shade over everybody else. If the beacon of hope is willing to needlessly kill, how am I supposed to buy that Batman, a character built in the darkness of the underworld, wouldn't have murdered every single one of his rogues gallery and all of the crooked cops and judges of Gotham? It doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense. And look, don't get me wrong, there are a few things to like about Man of Steel. However, they are so heavily outweighed by the things not to like that this podcast would be longer than the film itself if I started down that road. Whilst Man of Steel hinted at a wider world, it was not explicitly a shared universe film. Wayne Enterprise satellites, Blaze Comics references aside, this is a self-contained Superman story. However, with the growing success of the MCU, with their latest film, The Avengers, hitting $1.5 billion, and with Superman being a relatively small success, but with the Dark Knight trilogy showing that there are legs in bats, WB gave it one more shot, and this time expanding the world out, giving us Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. If you thought Man of Steel was a grey mess with zero understanding of its characters and the world it has built, hold on to your hats, it's about to get even worse. As an aside, has there ever been a Batman cast who wasn't disliked on announcement? Well, this is probably a podcast on its own, but Keaton was being called Mr. Mom when he was announced as being Bruce Wayne. It's just that there wasn't an internet around to see all the dweebs complaining about it. Kilmer and Clooney weren't particularly liked. Bale was getting side-eyed. And in spite of Ben Affleck being one of the best actors going, some folks never got beyond the benefit and Gigli of it all. BVS DOJ was WB's attempt at super speeding DC ahead and catching up to Marvel, who had already done their Super Team movie. BVS dodged through the majority of the Justice League in hoping that by the end they'd be in place to power ahead and straight into the third of the 5 planned Snyder films. We were going to get these 2 films and then a trilogy of Justice League movies. The problem is, with Man of Steel effectively being a standalone movie, it's sort of irrelevant to everything here. So they're trying to start their team movie off the back of one film, Batman v Superman. But WB wanted BVS to be a shorter film so that they could run more screenings of it. So obviously, if the film comes in at 3.5 hours, they can only get 4 showings per day on a screen. So with a 2.5 hour run time, none of the characters get any breathing room. And like, even one half of the fucking title of this film, Superman, he only has like half an hour of screen time in this movie. We learn nothing about anyone here, so why should we care beyond this movie? We really shouldn't, because they did such a poor job of introducing characters and giving them an identity. Before we get to the Justice League section, we did have a couple more films, both of which tonally and visually were quite Snyder-esque. And after 2 critical pannings in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Warner Brothers had bulked at another Snyder-like movie. So reshoots and rewrites of Suicide Squad ended up giving us a film which looked like it was 3 movies running concurrently, all made by different directors and then just splodged together. A film so shit, they did character introductions on more than one occasion. It was almost like they forgot that they'd already done it because a different director was working on it at that point. It was such an incomprehensible mess. The 3 films at this point had cost between $650 and $750 million to make, and they'd recouped $2.3 billion, which is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But having shot their load with their biggest characters, the consistent critical maulings, and the audiences who were enjoying each subsequent film less and less, Could these big budgets continue when the guarantee of the box office returns was starting to look a bit shaky? So I'm not sure if it was a good or a bad thing that Wonder Woman worked out so well. Probably the best reviewed film of the DCEU, both critically and commercially. Another terrible film may have put paid to this attempt much earlier, but Wonder Woman was a hit. Like I said, they got the money from it, they got the adulation, which is what they were looking for. The problem was that Wonder Woman was not without issue. Warner Brothers felt that the third act needed reworking with a climactic battle scene, which Patty Jenkins did. And most people will agree that the third act is the weakest part of this film because this is where it becomes like any other comic book movie. Still, Wonder Woman did well. People enjoyed it, critics praised it more. WB got their biggest box office net on DC film to date, so they followed up Wonder Woman with nothing. They played ahead with a team film helmed by a director becoming increasingly more divisive, both in the cinema auditoriums and within their own boardrooms. Warner Brothers had lost faith in Snyder and the vision of the Snyderverse. But having locked in early doors, they needed a reason. Unfortunately, that reason came in May 2017 with the untimely passing of Snyder's daughter. With Snyder understandably needed elsewhere, WB brought in Joss Whedon. Now, it doesn't take a genius to see the potential issues here. Just on a fundamental level, Snyder is a grittier, darker, and more violent-centric director, whereas Whedon is the exact opposite of that. So with the Justice League having been completely shot by the time that Joss Whedon came on, there were rewrites and reshoots required, again, to complete his vision. And of course, with all the extra CG and Henry Cavill's moustache needing to be painted out, the budget skyrocketed to $300 million, although it's rumoured it was actually even higher than that. WB knew they had a bomb on their hands. However, as they were in the middle of a takeover, their executives did not want to risk not putting a film out and having to forego their bonuses, so they dropped their turd into cinemas, with the edict that once again the runtime had to be shorter, this time down to 2 hours, so they could fit as many showings into the day as possible. Look, I've shied away really from getting in too deeply into the films, but I think special mention has to be made at how uniquely terrible this film was. At every level, this film was an unmitigated disaster. A Justice League film, which was the sole venture of either director, would have been a much better film than what was eventually served to us. However, this film gave us the absolute worst of both directors. From the lows of Snyder's lack of understanding of emotional depth, character development, and pure style over substance, to Whedon's gaggerific bullshit at every possible opportunity, undercutting any moment of portentousness. And then we throw in a healthy dollop of studio interference on top of this. This film should have been the end of a number of people's careers. November 2017 should have been the end. Someone needed to old yell at the DCEU. Rumours have since surfaced online that Cavill was furious about his sidelining here. He was a minor part in Batman v Superman, and he only rocked up in the last 20 minutes of Justice League. There were no future solo Superman films in the pipeline. Affleck was struggling with his mental health and alleged addiction behaviour at this point. The stories of Ray Fisher's problems on set with bullying, Ezra Miller and all of their issues. So we've had Jason Momoa, who seems to be the most laid-back, chill dude alive, and Gal Gadot. I'll let that name hang in the air for just a second. Because whilst you think about building a world, would you want to build a world around arguably the most memeable actress and former IDF soldier Gal Gadot? Probably not. Marvel and DC's film output has mirrored their comic book worlds. Marvel tends to feel quite samey. You could pick up the latest Amazing Spider-Man and it wouldn't feel too dissimilar to reading a Daredevil comic from 40 years ago, whereas DC tends to offer a greater variety of genre. But they also like to reset their continuity every so often to streamline. So to non-comic book readers, these are known as the crises. And Warner Brothers needed a Crisis of Infinite Earth style shake-up right now. They had a full year following the Justice League before any more DC films hit the screens. More than enough time to reset and restart, or at least figure out which direction they're going in here. but has been commonplace in the 4 years of the DCEU's existence to this point. Warner Brothers appear to have absolutely no clue what they wanted to do, which is a pity, as arguably their next 3 films are some of the best the DCEU put out. Aquaman being an unexpected commercial juggernaut, garnering over $1 billion. And let's not forget, Aquaman is a character who has been much maligned throughout the years by both comic book fans and non-comic book fans. He's the guy who has sex with fish. He was that before Peacemaker, he was that after it, and he got $1 billion. Shazam having a relatively small $90 million budget and banking over 4 times that with a 90% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes and an IMDb audience score of 7.3. And then Birds of Prey, modest box office success with very good critical consensus. The problem with these films is that they're all standalone movies, which isn't a bad thing in itself, and if that's the way you're going, then great. The problem is it doesn't appear that's what WB wanted. Ultimately, they wanted the DCEU to have the name recognition of the MCU. At that point, you could sell a B-tier Marvel character to an audience purely on the basis that it was the MCU. Guardians of the Galaxy is evidence enough for that. However, no one except me would be going to see an Adam Strange movie, for example. Those 3 films were great, but you throw in the much maligned Wonder Woman 1984 and you can really see that Warner Brothers had given up the ghost here. They have never looked so much without direction as they do now. Until March 18th, 2021. That is the date of Zack Snyder's Justice League, when it hit HBO Max, or HBO Max again, or whatever they're calling it this week. This really is rock bottom for the DCEU and Warner Brothers. They're no longer looking forward. They're giving us a reworking of something they've already done, and putting aside making the cult of the Snyder Bros happy, this is the most creatively moribund DC Films has been to this point. Look, I'm always glad to see a director's cut of a film. It's almost always superior cut of the film because I believe that film is the director's medium. When it comes to making movies, the director is the most important creative on set, unless you're Tom Cruise. Like, what you see is what the director wants you to see, whereas a big actor like Tom Cruise, he probably has more sway. But that's not the case in this universe. Regardless, #release the Snyder Cut was fulfilled. A 4-hour film that was infinitely better than the 2017 attempt. The problem is Warner Brothers had zero intention of taking this anywhere. It wasn't a test to see if going back and giving Snyder the Justice League trilogy would now work. It was just to shut a bunch of internet trolls up. Which didn't. If anything, it's made them worse and more batshit insane. I do think that this film is one which potentially lit a fuse for Warner Brothers into thinking they can renew DC and ultimately leading to where we are now in 2025. Because it's Warner Brothers, the journey isn't smooth to get there though, because it never is. And there was one more rock in the road before we get to Gunn's world. Next up was James Gunn. The Suicide Squad came in and hit, as did the Peacemaker spin-off show with long-term cage-fighting follower John Cena. People really liked this film. The cult of personality which grew around the Snyderverse didn't particularly like it, but I think having this film come out 6 months after giving them what they wanted in the Snyder Cut, and then telling them that's your lot, I think turned many against whatever was going to be up next, regardless of whether it was the Suicide Squad or what comes after. I think the sad irony is about the cult of Snyder is their hatred towards James Gunn, a man who is a close friend of Zack Snyder, and also the man who gave Zack Snyder the script for what is easily his best film in the Dawn of the Dead remake. Quote unquote, the power hierarchy of the DC was about to change. This was off-quoted by Dwayne Johnson in the run-up to being Black Adam. This was a role that Johnson had been touted to be playing for 20 plus years, even back when he was a pro wrestler for all his sins. Johnson finally said yes to the dress and donning the black and gold, and bringing with him the Man of Steel Henry Cavill again, getting WB to agree to bring him back into the fold. And not just for a one-off, they announced that Cavill was back, and he's back for more than this one film. Black Adam was a steaming pile of dog shit though. The kind of dog shit that when you smell it, it's the back of your throat and makes you want to throw up. This film was so bad that Johnson had to put his tights back on and get back into a wrestling ring. I did an episode on The Rock back in April. Give that a listen. Johnson, who had made a big statement about moving on from the Fast and Furious franchise amid rumours of having issues with Vin Diesel. I guess they're arguing over who is the best bald, when really they should know that I'm the best bald. Johnson had to go crawling back to Diesel's Fast Fit franchise and giving Vin the chance to little bro him into submission. Before the Black Adam film's course was even lukewarm, Warner Brothers head of DC Films, Walter Hamada, stepped down. Batgirl was cancelled for a tax write-off, and James Gunn and Peter Safran were brought in to lead DC into the new era. Gunn told the DC division the DCEU was dead, and he was rebooting the lot. No Gal Gadot, no Batfleck, no Cavill, no Momoa as Aquaman. More on that later. All new. DC did have 4 finished films in the bank, which gave Gunn a bit of time to do what he needed to reboot. And it also gave WB some films that they could keep pumping out so that you didn't outright forget that they were a thing. 2 of the worst. One Ezra Miller headache, and one that might end up being the first film of the DCU. That's what we got. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, in spite of the amazing Rachel Zegler, was a boring and instantly forgettable movie with weird jokes that just didn't land. Where the first film was all ages friendly, this appealed to cretins only. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was a film that I saw. The hype of the 2018 film had long dissipated, even before we knew that this would be the end of the world for the DCEU. It made this film a complete not must-see. This has been a running theme here. Missing the boat many times. Wonder Woman, Shazam, Aquaman, Birds of Prey, all films which were enjoyed, and their sequels either never materialised or took so long no one gave a fuck about them by the time they hit. Shazam! Fury of the Gods and Aquaman the Lost Kingdom were the bookends to the Flash film. The book on which that is loosely based on, Flashpoint, is a must-read in my opinion. However, I've nothing of interest to say about the film because the film had nothing of interest to say. Read the book. It's ironic, really, that the death of DC and... It's ironic, really, that this film is the death of DC. And it also had George Clooney in as Batman when he was the death of comic book films back in the 90s. The only film left was the penultimate film, Blue Beetle. In retrospect, Aquaman should have come before this film. Gunn was such a fan of, I'm going to butcher this name, Jolo Maridunya. Don't come at me if I've mispronounced that he confirmed that he would be Gunn's Blue Beetle going forward. This was closer to the first Shazam film than Shazam sequel. This was a family-friendly, all-ages romp of a movie. Had they made this film the final DCEU project, then leading him into Gunn's DCU, it probably would have been a bit more poetic. Ultimately, these last 4 films meant nothing, so the reviews were not pleasant because no one cared. And the box office didn't make for good reading either, again because no one cared. The DCEU was born on the 14th of June 2013 and died on the 22nd of December 2023. A decade of waste. The DCEU is dead. Long live the DCU. After the break, me and Shu will be talking Superman and then Nick Cage in The Frozen Ground. Thanks for joining us for the second part of the pod and join us with Fake Tales of San Francisco. Stuart Hall's back. Even Stu.
San Francisco. Wish it was San Francisco. I mean, that would have been probably more normal than Orlando, but yeah, hello. I was so out of the loop that I was stumped then that it was the second part. I thought, this could happen to me, but I know you've got your little essay.
Yeah, because I didn't know if you'd definitely be back to normality by this point. I thought I'll do a little something just to tide us over and then we'll see. So how was Orlando?
I mean, my voice is still a bit weird, but that's going to come. I mean, it was fine, as we'll get into on Thursday when we watched Superman. It was fine then. But as with every plane journey I ever make, the one on the way home is always gets destroyed by the aircon, which is lovely. But So going from a 4 hours, that was the furthest I've ever gone before. So from that to 9 in one jump was, I thought it'd be worse than it was, but it was actually fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I got top score on the playing Tetris 40 lines
Brilliant.
game on the way back.
Winner.
So
Winner.
that was an achievement. And the 32 hours of being awake before I went to sleep on the way home wasn't great, but yeah, it was. I kind of didn't know what to expect, because you see, oh well, it's Florida, man. It's going to be crazy people everywhere, and
Mm.
for the most part on the freeways and stuff, it was that. It was exactly that.
Yeah.
There was just people just cutting up each other, and there was that what was it called? Slingshot supercar thing that was driving down the street, and that was just, you could hire them apparently.
Oh, wow, okay.
No problem. And they were just guys in just vests, no helmets or anything like that. 3-wheeled hypercars. Yeah, it was the whole tipping thing was not a problem really. But once you got your head around it, it was okay. This is just how it works here. And I will say though, obviously I was there for a wedding, and people who've long-term Fancast listeners know Blake from back in the day and his chameleon-like accent. And yeah, he's James and Julie just looked after us. They treated us like we were the ones. We were the royalty of the occasion. It was mental.
Yeah.
So if they are listening, thank you for that. It was wonderful. And we sent them some flowers today, and they received it today. So that was
Lovely.
good. Yeah, Blake having an uncle as cool as David is, though. I mean, just to paint the picture of this guy, he must be about 5'3", 5'4", 6'4", 6'5", not 5. He was huge, ginormous man. The most gentle giant you'll ever meet. He's a primary school teacher, and yet he's just one of us. And like, to the extent that after the wedding finished at 9:30, by the way, wedding finished at 9:30.
Okay.
Because that's how they do things. Because you had the rehearsal meal after the rehearsal on the Friday. So you get to meet people there, and then you do it all again after the wedding. So it's 9:30 is the end time, which for me, getting 8 bottles down myself and doing the eyeball trick after a 12-year hiatus was something to behold. They asked, and one of the girls was a toxicologist, and so she was curious. So he said, "Can you do it for me?" I went, "Yeah, of course I can. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt me." But then the word got round then, didn't it? So I had to do it 4 times. And then
why did someone just film it first time?
Well, I did say to her, I said, "You can film it if you want." And she's like, "No, I don't want that. Don't want you to do that." Well, you can. I'm offering, but different pockets of people. The word got round. They're like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then just that part of my eye hurt the next morning, but I'd smuggled some paracetamol in anyway, so it was fine. But yeah, so when it finished and Blake and Erin went away on their start of their honeymoon, I just put Duel of the Fates on, didn't I? And me and Dave were kind of dueling with glow sticks, like proper adult men that we are.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
me.
Proper great guy. And he might be listening to this, because we did say we'll talk about Superman. But yeah, they took me to. So bear in mind, I'd been there for 2 hours to get bags and get through customs. By the way, 2 hours. Hour and 15 of that just waiting for their bags.
God,
Ludicrous.
Yeah, it's appalling, isn't it?
Never done anything like it. But yeah, so we went back to their house and had a bud, because why wouldn't you? And then a proper root beer, which
what did you think?
I opened it and it smelled like deep heat.
It does, doesn't it?
And then mum was looking at me. Obviously, mum went as well. It's like Germaline. It's like Savlon. I went, yeah, I know. But then I tried it. I thought, actually, this is really nice.
I can't get past the smell. But it does it for me. It's enough.
Well, we were saying that we went to Red Robin before we came back, because they had one there, and that was on box rather than out of a can, and that was better. That was nicer than the canned version. But like he was saying, like Blake was saying, it's proper like Marmite situation with that stuff. I can understand. I mean, I'll drink any old shit anyway, at least once. But I actually got quite fond of it in the end. I thought, yeah, it's going to be a shame now because I can't get hold of it again. But Yeah, so root beer was one. I had a pork chop. Don't like pork, but that pork chop was nice. Massive though. Huge thing.
We have pork chops in the UK.
Yeah, but this was bigger than I've ever seen ever. I don't know
Okay.
what. And it didn't taste like pork, which is probably why I liked it.
Right, okay.
But I do eat them, them pork steaks that you get at German market every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I eat them.
Mm.
But just pork on a Sunday dinner, nah, not really. Yeah, so, and then obviously, well, everyone wants to hear about the gun thing. And we could put the video up. I'll put the video up when this goes out. That
Yeah.
they started us off on 45s, and then Glocks, and then he said, "Do you want to do shotguns?" Like, oh yeah, it's just a thing, of course. So we went on shotguns and 5 gauge. So 5 shell double barrel shotgun. So I had the little mark on my shoulder from the recoil.
Back.
But it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt. It was just a mark on the skin. But and then automatic weapons time brought them out as well. So I went semi-auto, and then the one that I sent you to, the full automatic rifle. And yeah, this is the power. And you think this was actually remarkably easy to do.
Yeah.
I walked in there and I was a bit apprehensive. I thought, these are actual proper guns. We're not pissing about here.
Yeah.
Like you would hear, you think, oh yeah, it's a replica of the RoboCop gun, and oh, that's from Commando. No, these are actual killing machines. And so, but once we were in that back room, it was like, yeah, this is probably the safest place around to be in here, because there's no messing about. And I know, well, which I found out later, that they'd asked if I'd be up for doing it, which is nice of them, because, I mean, obviously I would. And I know my anti-gun thing with America's more on, these people you should have a license for this stuff, because it's out of control, which I don't think is too bad. But Constitution, I get it, I understand. I think if it had been animals, that would have been tricky.
Yeah. No, I agree, yeah.
And if it was, unless like what Steve does, where he gets to cull deer, and that's done for a reason, and nothing's wasted. So it's like, it's still bad, but there is kind of, it's done
not
for
killing bears for the fun of it, though, is it?
Yeah, it's done for a reason. And Julie did kind of slip it where she said that you go into the, what did she say? You go into the range, and I thought, okay. And there were some people who had gone like gun nut symbols on the night. And I just thought it was like skeet shooting, not a rifle, like an assault range like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. It was great fun. I, obviously, when they put your ID and everything, and I was like, passport number, went, yeah, you're fine. You're not the first one, don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say next time you're on Broadway, I don't know if I presume they have them in New York somewhere.
I've never seen one, in fairness, and like with all of my researching on things to do, I've never come across a gun range. But I know there's one in Warsaw, of all places.
Yeah, I know where that is, because my uncle's part of the gun club.
Yeah, I've had to inspect there many years ago. So I got to go, like, I didn't fire shit off, but I got to see all of the, so they've got all the rubber stuff where it hits at the back. What I assume is just like old tires that fill up the walls and stuff like that. And it's kind of fascinating. And I imagine it'd be a good day to go back there and have a couple of hours just, I say pissing around, that's not the right word, to have a go with the guns and stuff. But you are right, like they take it seriously. And I think serious gun owners, they hate the dickheads who give the rest of them a bad name.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really fair. I mean, Erin's dad, Jason, I think he said he's got 4 or 5 guns himself. Because he's from Alabama, of course you have. And I got a picture of his zombie shoot earlier on that was sent to me, and he was all headshots. No way. He said, well, it's a zombie. Where else are you going to shoot it? Which is a fair point, actually.
Makes sense, yeah.
Just destroyed. But yeah, there's the pros and there's the amateurs like me, which I listened and I did it heart, neck, eye, which I was told to do. He just obliterated the head, so there we are. But yeah, it was lovely, and it was really calm, which you think, oh yeah, you're going to America for 5 days for a wedding. It's going to be chaos, which we all thought it might be. No, everything was really chill. Everything was really well organized. There was no drama whatsoever. Everything ran completely smoothly and on time.
Yeah.
And obviously I took my Wolves towel and my bucket hat to like by the pool one morning. That has to be done. You have to represent. Yeah, it was great. And obviously we all being well, we should be going back for 10 days next year. Where a lot of the people that we met, we'll meet up with them again. Because it was like when we went to Epcot on the Sunday, it was just one big family. And it was their family that we were we were asked to be a part of. And I just tagging along for the sake of it. We proper like felt involved in it. And obviously we've known her for a long time, James and Julie, because of coming over for Blake and everything. But still,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, meeting people for a couple of hours before a game is different to spending the best part of a week.
Well, the party, isn't it?
And when it's exactly the same as what you expect it to be, it was even more special. And I was like, yeah, I don't really want to go home here. It was great.
Amazing.
But then we got to Superman, and then I stole your seat.
Yes. So obviously I was going to go see it again, and I noticed there was one, like, I usually try and get either G, H, J, 13, and there was one seat that was J13, and the block doesn't. I want that one. And there's one person sat on his own, fucking furious. So I picked one a few down because I thought I don't mind sitting slightly to the side because I've already seen the film at least. I got my preferred seat for the first showing. I'll accept it this time. Only to find out it was fucking Stuart Hall's seat. Couldn't believe it.
And what I didn't tell you as well, that was my 15th wedding anniversary that day.
Was it really? Oh dear.
But we'd gone out on the Wednesday because she's taking Ethan to football anyway, so it had been kind of manoeuvred anyway beforehand. And I thought, well, if you're not going to be in on the night regardless, I'll just get Mum to come in until you are, and then I'll go watch Superman.
So I got to spend your anniversary with you. Love you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Going into Superman, like, what did you know about it going in? Because all of the characters that had been mentioned, like I'm already quite familiar with all of them, but stuff like Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl, I know there's some that you'll recognise from some of the Arrowverse shows and stuff, but going in, did you feel like you were well prepared, or was it an almost entirely blind situation?
All I knew was I watched that one teaser in the ice, which is like the first scene of the film anyway.
Yeah.
And so I'd seen Crypto, so I knew he was in it. So I automatically knew that it was different to before.
Mhm.
And I knew Lois was in it, obviously, because of that Miss Lane that was in the first teaser.
Yeah.
And I don't think I watched anything else at all. And I'm like you said about certain other people who turn up later on. I had no idea because I'd put it on the blocked words list, and I was amazed it was just called Superman because I was convinced it was called something else at first.
It was originally announced as Superman Legacy. They did the right thing in changing it to Superman because Legacy denotes a history.
Yeah.
And like, we meet Superman 3 years into his heroship. So actually there's no legacy for Superman. So I think it was the right thing to change it back to Superman rather than Superman Legacy.
Yeah. And it's kind of like how they did it with Spider-Man when they brought it back. And with the MCU Spider-Man, we don't need to see the start again for the third time. He's already active.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows this anyway, and if you don't know it, we're going to fill the gaps in as you go along.
Yeah. So like, I like the fact that the scene opens with, was it 30 years ago, X happened, 3 years ago, X happened, 3 weeks ago, this, 3, like, and they were just filling in the gaps, and like, these are just a very broad brush strokes of how we've got to this point. And the rest of the film will just drop in bits here, like, we'll give you Mara and Park Kent, we'll give you these, we'll give you that. It didn't treat you like idiots. It expected you to know enough that you weren't going to get lost. And they did a good job in making sure that you didn't get lost, I think, with this film.
Yeah, and I think even if by some miracle, or if you're like 8, 9 years old, whatever, I don't know what the age rating on it was. I'm guessing it was 12.
There were quite a few shits in there, so
Yeah.
potentially 12, I'm guessing. Might even get away with a PG, in fairness, in the modern day. Superman. Does it not tell you the age on here? Like 12A.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Yeah, I get that. I think that's a reasonable shot, to be fair.
yeah, I mean, you have got like things happening to him, what with the kryptonites and stuff, which is not nice to see. And obviously, other things. It's a bit more. It's not gory, but it's suggestive more than anything else.
Yeah, like it's unpleasant to see the impact of the kryptonite poisoning. It wasn't pleasant to look at, so they made a good job of not making it a U, I think, which probably
Yeah.
would have undersold it somewhat.
Yeah, that's perfect. So say you're 10-year-old. If you're taking a 10-year-old to see this for the first time, and by some miracle they don't know anything about Superman, I think you could still be more than satisfied going into this and coming away with thinking, okay, so he was obviously raised here by these two people, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
You
Like the
don't
whole
need,
krypton of it isn't really important, is it, I suppose?
yes, and the whole story about the message. It's like, well, yeah, it's already told. He thinks he was there for one reason, and the way he is the reason he is the way he is, not because of a silly message telling him so.
Mhm.
You get that anyway. So it was there was a lot of very, very clever choices in this film.
I mean, that's one thing I've always been a big fan of James Gunn for, because I do think he treats the audience. He doesn't treat the audience like idiots. Like, he doesn't spoon feed it to you. He expects you to be mature enough to understand what is going on. And I think he's done that, even go back to stuff like Sliver and everything way back when. Like, it's not just about his comic book stuff. I think he's just a very talented filmmaker, that he knows how to write an impactful movie that you can understand.
Yeah.
Like, compared to choices that were made in the previous iterations, it's worlds apart for me.
Yeah, when you're talking about worlds apart, I mean, the stuff in this about, and I know when I was reading IMDb, in the trivia section, and he said obviously the destruction and everything was inspired by what happened in Man of Steel. But in Man of Steel, when everything was falling apart, I was bored.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, okay, this has been ripped apart. It's a bit like maybe we could mention Jurassic World Rebirth in a bit, just for the fun of it.
Let's not.
But the whole message of, yeah, the audience are bored with dinosaurs. The audience are bored with just CG for the sake of CG.
Mhm.
There wasn't much difference between tall buildings that don't exist collapsing on each other in this than there were in Man of Steel. But this somehow, even though it was a way more silly film, had a lot more heart to it.
Mhm.
And he didn't.
Interesting, yeah, because the scene in question, in Man of Steel, they didn't evacuate the city. So when they leveled building after building after building, and it was just that one big grey splodge at the end, they're fighting on the fucking corpses of millions of people. Whereas in this, they'd removed the stakes by having those people evacuated from the city. So even though those buildings were being torn apart, there was no jeopardy, because we knew those people were safe. But we cared more because we knew those people had to return to that city. And I think that made the difference, because it wasn't they were going to lose their livelihood rather than their lives, I think, is the thing. And I think that made it so much more impactful.
Yeah. And you kind of think after, yeah, this is what earthquake people and people in hurricane areas have to deal with all the time. And you go back and there's, well, the joins aren't exactly where they're supposed to be. But yeah, it was, and they nailed it. Even the whole tone of where the pocket universe was, or the tropical, like Mario Sunshine Island that they were on. Like, it was colourful and fun, yet you've got the deep despair inside it in the little hut. You think, yeah, okay, perfect. You've nailed this in exactly the same way where they nailed the Suicide Squad, which shouldn't be a surprise, which is obviously canon anyway in this world, so it's not really the first. Although
It'll be interesting because Peacemaker season 2, which is out next month,
yeah,
August something, isn't it? there's going to be some retconning, I think. So I wonder how much of the Suicide Squad and the Blue Beetle, I think, will end up being part of this world, because Yolo Mariduena, I think his name is. He is going to be Blue Beetle going forward. So I think there's going to be some retconning of what's going on.
I mean, they do mention certain people in Peacemaker season 1 as well.
Mhm.
But I'm just guessing now that, well, we're obviously not talking about the real ones.
Mm,
It'll be like a throwaway line as silly as that, and they'll just, oh well, there we are.
yeah, they will. They'll do something, I think, just to match it to like 2p over to get things just about in the right place, just enough that we won't particularly notice, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because comic book, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, all that kind of stuff, isn't it? So I'm sure they will do enough to make it make sense. And that's all that particularly matters.
Yeah.
Man of Steel, well, actually, no, it wasn't. It was Batman v Superman. We had our first look of Lex Luthor in that world, and that was very much maligned. In retrospect, I don't think having a tech bro as Lex Luthor was a terrible idea. But I think Nicholas Hoult in this world was a much more traditional Lex Luthor. And I think it's like comparing night versus day when you do the two versions of Luthor. What did you think of Holt in this world?
He was very Gene Hackman.
Mhm.
And that's obvious because the way he acted, the way he moved, he's just. I know he's older than everyone else, is he? I'm guessing so.
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, he looks younger than everyone else, even with no hair. So, and then the fact that you've got an actual person with alopecia in this cast who's not actually bald in the film, I thought I love Nicholas Hoult in everything anyway. He's always great.
He's nice, isn't he? Yeah, he's brilliant.
But the whole, like, you are right though. If you modernize Superman, what would that version of Lex Luthor in the 70s be in the present day? And he would be a tech bro. He would be like the Ocean Gate lunatic. He'd be obsessed with Elon Musk and all them kind of people. So it makes absolutely perfect sense why. Oh yeah, because he wants to have his own world. He wants his own country. Every single thing they nailed in this film. Everyone. The vibe, perfect. Casting, perfect. And I can't believe how it seemed more real than any of the others in the last 20 years.
I know what you mean. Like it had that recognizability. Like you saw it and it did feel a lot more natural, which it shouldn't do because it's more fantastical than anything else we've seen. But it did. It was recognizably Superman, which I think made just a world of difference.
Yeah.
And to touch on the casting, even the peripheral characters, like Wendell Pierce as Perry Light, perfect. I want more of him. The Gideon, he was Gideon in the Righteous Gemstones, the James Olsen. Jimmy Olsen, that character whose name has just completely gone from my mind. He was excellent because he had that sort of cheeky chappy. I probably know more than I should, but I'm also a bit of an idiot about him. He works perfectly for the role. Like all of them. Alan Tudyk doing the voice of Thor, or Gary as he becomes to be known. Fantastic. Like everyone just felt like that was the right person for that role. Like Nathan Fillion coming in as Guy Gardner. So I don't know how much lore you know about Guy Gardner, but basically when Hal Jordan was Green Lantern, the ring was going to Guy Gardner, but Hal Jordan basically got in the way and he ended up with the ring. So Guy Gardner has got this inferiority complex. He's an angry man and he's angry because he's always been number 2. And he's an obnoxious prick. So when Nathan Fillion was cast, I thought, but Nathan Fillion's a really likable, really funny guy. I'm not sure he's Guy Gardner. And then as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have no idea why I was ever worried about this because he's just perfect as this absolute dick of a character. He was wonderful in it.
Yeah. And he's got the perfect face for it as well.
Yeah.
Like you think you see Nathan Fillion in a lot of things and you think, oh, he's like the lovable rogue. And in this, with that stupid haircut, he looks like a twat. And he looks like you want to hit him in the face over and over again.
Like he's almost impossible to take serious, but he's one of the most powerful people in the whole film, and it works perfectly for it.
And the whole thing where you've got the like the sand castle. No, the fist after fist coming up with a finger sticking up.
Okay.
You know this. I'm trying to get not to go spoilery.
Fighting the tanks. It's Ilya Taylor. He's
Okay.
in the tank,
Yeah.
and you see the green energy constructs.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Like you-
in them off as he's doing it. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's pure Guy Gardner.
But we were right though as well about Michael Rosenbaum. He was one of the. He was in there.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you do some voice work?
No, he was one of the exactly what the people that you said he'd be.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, interesting. Because I have since seen that Michael Rooker does one of the voices and Pom Klementif. So both like they're collaborators of James Gunn. So like he does bring in his friends. He likes to make sure that they're all looked after, which I really appreciate that in a director.
Yeah, he was one of the Raptors.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It was quite kind of nice to see Michael Ian Black as well. He was the TV presenter who was interviewing Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I remember he used to do a podcast with Tom Cavanaugh, the Reverse Flash from the Flash TV.
Yeah.
They used to do a podcast called Mates. Mike and Tom Eat Snacks. And it was just them two that eat a snack and just talk shit for an hour each week. It was brilliant.
And Christopher Reeve's son being in it as well.
Yes. Yeah, like they paid tribute to the legacy, and it was just, the casting was perfect throughout this film.
And is that the George Reeves thing at the start going to be there all the time with DC stuff? Or is it just
I
for this?
believe it is. I think that's going to be the calling card of this universe, because it was in Super/Man, the documentary about Chris Reeves last year.
Oh, that's why I thought, yeah. That's why I thought it might just be for this, because it was obviously the link to two of them, but that makes sense if it is.
I believe it is. I mean, time will tell with these things, but
Yeah.
I think that's where they're going with it. What did you think of Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific?
He was the I like Kamau said, he had all the lines.
Yeah, he did. Like I think he had the most fun of anyone on that set. Apart from, I think, David Corenswet getting to make out with Rachel Brosnahan as much as he did, because that looks like that would be fun, to be fair.
Yeah, he was having a great old time. There's a reason why he wanted them red pants to just.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. They were baggy for a reason. Yeah, he was. How he managed to deliver them lines and stay that deadpan throughout the whole thing, exceptional work.
Yeah.
And he's got that stupid thing on his face anyway. He's got all the words down his arms and everything, and terrific on his back, and it's just a ludicrous situation to be in. Yeah, it just works.
Yeah. I was a bit worried because, like, I've been reading Justice Society of America. I was reading it probably 15, 20 years ago when Mr. Terrific sort of came to the forefront. And in my mind, he was quite a bulky guy who'd mastered all of the martial arts. So when I saw Eddie Gathegi, and he's this quite lithe looking guy, I thought, he's just not going to work. I'm not going to buy into him. And actually, you immediately bought into him because he spoke with such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, with such authority on things that actually you can forego the fact that he's quite a thin fella. You buy into him because he comes across as having strength. And I think that made like him the focal point of the Justice Gang.
Yeah, and and the costume choice as well, layering up with that jacket made him look bigger.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't have had him just in a normal comic book suit. It had to be something like that. So it made his shoulders look broader. So if that was intentional, I'm guessing it was. Yeah, he was the only one out of them three who knew what they were talking about. I mean, Hulk Girl was a bit. Well, she wasn't really in it though, so I can't really complain. It was just a bit of a missed opportunity, maybe. Maybe
Had
it
some
was.
good one-liners where she was taking the piss out of Guy. But you are right, like, they didn't flesh her character out a great deal, did they?
No, she was just like an afterthought a little bit. But again, with the nitpicking the smallest possible things. I mean, the only one that again I expected to be mentioned, Perry White being race swapped, which I'm guessing that's happened before anyway in comics.
Quite possibly. Like, not that I can think of, but like, you are right. Like, we live in a world where these things get pissed off at people moaning about nonsense like that for nothing. And there was no real arguments about Wendell Pierce being in this film, and neither should there be, because Wendell Pierce is amazing.
Yeah, and it just worked. It worked perfectly, and it was very clever as well with the whole cigar thing, just to have him with a cigar in his mouth without being lit,
Yeah,
just to get around the whole thing.
Lawrence Fishburne, sorry, played Perry White in Man of Steel, didn't he?
Yeah, this is what I mean. It's been
So
done before.
continuation,
Yeah.
continuation of. But again, not that it matters, but so there is talk apparently of doing a Jimmy Olsen spin-off show, which if they do that, I really want Perry White very much to be front and center. I kind of want it to be like Mission Impossible, the old-fashioned Mission Impossible, or like Charlie's Angels, and he can play Charlie, where he gives Jimmy Olsen the mission of that week. I think something like that could be really fun, but I definitely want more of him in this world.
You can't see him in a TV series now, though.
Well, he's in a show called Elsbeth, which is like, it's a weekly Murder of the Week kind of show. It's fun. It is a fun show to watch. And he's the police captain, because he's a copper in pretty much everything apart from Superman at this point. That's his thing now.
Oh, like the what was his name? The Greg Moore shower. The guy who was in Transformers. It was a general in everything.
Yeah. Glenn Moore.
Glenn Moore,
Yeah, he is. I think the first thing I saw him in was 24, and then he just played that character in everything. It's a good niche to have, though, isn't it?
Yeah. The TV general on command.
So, what are you looking forward to in the future of the Gunn universe?
I mean, at this point, everything. Because we already talked about Peacemaker a couple of years ago, how much we loved that, on top of the Suicide Squad, and thinking, well, is it going to work? Is it going to work as a TV show? And then obviously being the soundtrack being a massive part of that. And then them doing this with a soundtrack that was not songs that I knew. And yet being annoyingly infectious as I think them things were. If this vibe carries on, then they can do anything they want. Even the stupidest thing possible, like Clockman or whatever that was.
Yeah. They absolutely can, and we know that James Gunn has an affinity for the sillier characters. That's why Polka Dot Man was such a big part of the Suicide Squad, because he likes that kind of nonsense. So, like, I'm excited to see them delve into the depths of the DC universe. Really can't wait to see what's coming next. Like, I know we've got the Supergirl film coming up, which is going to be based on Woman of Tomorrow, which is a brilliant book. I'm looking forward to that. We should be getting Lobo as part of that world, which is Jason Momoa. So I kind of wonder if they're going to mention Aquaman at all. I don't know, because like, maybe that might be something that Peacemaker is going to reference changes, potentially. I don't know. I look forward to seeing what happens with any more Suicide Squad stuff. And Margot Robbie, because she was the cornerstone of the previous iteration of the DC universe, to the point that we may struggle to see anybody else be Harley Quinn now.
I don't think you even need Harley Quinn anymore in this world.
Maybe not.
I mean, going big and going so alien already. I mean, they said it on Command and Mayo as well, about how where you get to a point where there's basically a head with squid arms trying to get a green baby out of a lava field that's basically Lego. And yeah, this has gone too far, and yet it really hasn't. But
yeah, I was still worried at that point. Like, what if baby Joey dies? I was genuinely scared.
Yeah, like if this is how mental it's going to go in the first film of this whole new project, then we're not going to be going, oh, Harley Quinn and Joker and all the usual stuff and the seriousness. Leave the Batman in its own little world and just concentrate on this and this alone. Because that's what brought it all down last time, because the whole Batman crossover just didn't work. It didn't make any sense. Why that? You can't just have Martha as the one.
Yeah, why is that the link that they
Yeah.
shared a mom's name? And why was Clark calling his mom Martha? Fucking
Yeah.
idiot.
It just keeping the Batman stuff separate and having the rest of the DCU as it is now, like this, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think that is basically what they're going to be doing. The Batman, the Matt Reeves version, that's going to continue being Pattinson. And then we're going to have Batman the Brave and the Bold at some point. So we will have two Batmans. I don't know. We'll have two of them anyway. And apparently this universe is going to have a Robin as well. So I think if you have Robin, you're going to struggle to have it too dark. Because I don't know if you could pull off a Kick-Ass version of Batman, because Kick-Ass is too dark for something that's mainstream. So I think they'd struggle to have that kind of a world. But I can't wait to see where they're going to go with it. Like, it feels like there's a world of possibilities now, and that's really exciting. And with someone like James Gunn running the show, I have so much more faith that it will be expansive.
Yeah, I mean, you were there. You saw me there. I just sat there for the 2 and a bit hours just with a massive smile on my face the whole time.
When one of the cameos happened, I couldn't tell if it was you or somebody next to you, but I heard like a sharp intake of breath, like,
yeah,
I don't know say which one, but I was just like, I didn't know that they were going to be there.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah, it was me. There was a guy a few seats down who did it for another one though.
Okay.
But yeah, that specific one that has its own spin-off. Yeah, that was me. I did not know, and I was very surprised. And again, going dark on trailers works wonders.
It does. I mean, in fairness, this was spoiled on Twitter within 24 hours. That because they weren't in any of the trailers. There was no either of the cameos. They weren't in any trailers. But if you look on Twitter, like within a few hours of getting back from watching it on Friday, I was like, I'm glad I saw it when I did, because I'd have been annoyed at it being spoiled.
Well, that's exactly why I'm watching Fantastic Four on Thursday again, because people can't help themselves.
No, it's right. I've booked in for Thursday, but I don't know why. I'm probably going to go on the Friday, to be fair, to see it. I do want to see it just because of the team, but yeah, early reviews haven't excited me on this one.
No, but I mean, early reviews said that Ironheart was good as well, so I'm taking nothing from.
Oh yeah, so are you halfway through that now?
I've watched 3, and I've forced myself through 3. It's so bad. You can see why they're shitting out like they did. Another the usual 3, and then every week something else.
Yeah,
I think it was out in 3 bursts. This one.
Oh, so is it complete now? Is it?
It was all out and done within a month. I think it might have even been all in one. It's. I mean, the first episode. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it. No one cares. The first episode, she's already painted as this genius kid, who's at college building Iron Man suits. I think, okay, it's been a long time since Tony Stark built it in a cave, forever. Obviously, you had all the Iron Guardians all around the world and the autonomous ones and everything like that. So,
yeah,
I guess in theory, how things trickle down, it could be possible for people to build their own Iron Man suits on their own. But could a kid at school be building their own with its own AI? That's a kind of rip up of the old word paperclip, that was funny actually.
That's the sound of music.
Yeah, that was quite funny. It's a pencil, paperclip, but it's drawn in the same kind of way.
Yeah.
So there's a few little moments, and making her being able to make her way through life just because she's a genius and doing everyone's papers for them and selling them and getting money for that. So, but to then be dragged into a complete life of like super criminals using
Right.
using a bright white Iron Man suit. So, okay, yeah, this is a bit. It doesn't make any sense. It's too when you've gone this far fetched that you're even trying to break any kind of semblance of sanity and realms of possibility. Then, yeah, this doesn't need to exist. I mean, Echo was boring last year. Echo was boring as hell,
Oh shit! I'd forgot that was even a thing.
and I liked half of Moon Knight, but again, it went the same way as all the others. Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier started off fine, trickled away. This has started off pretty awful. And I think there's 4 left. And I thought I'm gonna try and watch them in two. I barely got through. I've got through one and I had to turn it off and watch something else.
Put it on 1.5 times.
No, I'm not even.
Plow through it. You get the story. It's all you need at this point. If it's that bad, I don't know why you're torturing yourself.
I mean, it's gonna be done because it's been done for this many years now, and there isn't that many episodes left, and I think they're like 50 minutes max. So it's not.
God. That's a long fucking sitting in something you'd not enjoy in those, Stu.
Yeah, and there's the one thing about the one character being some form of drag. Well, it is from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay.
So, and he's just playing a transvestite super genius hacker, but with nails that can't type on keyboards, which was the first thing I noticed, despite him having green hair. I thought, well, that's unrealistic.
He got
thought,
those nails.
Yeah, I thought, this is where we are. This is what it's come to.
Yeah, that's not good. Are the events of Black Panther Wakanda Forever mentioned? Because she's in that, isn't she, Riri Williams?
Yeah, I know I can see where they're going to go with it.
Oh, is this before that, is it then?
No, but there's one character who's the Wakanda stuff's been mentioned already.
Right.
And it makes perfect sense. I mean, obviously you watched that anyway. You watched Wakanda Forever.
I did. I did not like it.
No, I didn't like it either, really. But you've already got that background anyway from that because of the suits and stuff in there. So some of the things that are happening to one of the guys in there, it's Wakanda and it's all magic and all. So it's more like the Agatha world as well.
Okay.
So it's I don't really know what it is or what it's trying to be, and it might get better. But from the look on Ash's face when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago,
he wasn't impressed. See?
No.
Okay, fair enough. There's nothing else in the comic booky world, is there? I don't think at the moment going on, or that's all the big hitters, isn't it?
Yeah, no, until Fantastic Four next week, and then I think that's it for a bit.
We'll be talking about that anyway. Next month, I can't know if it's next month. It might even be the month after. I thought we'll do a summer roundup because there's been a few big hits that I think probably going to be worth talking about. One of which is going to be Reaper.
Yeah, so you need to go back and watch it.
Conversation.
So yeah, you need to go back and watch the whole thing so you can talk about it properly, like a full adult, and not have a little spit and leave the cinema.
42 years, Stu, and that is the first time I had to walk out.
It's Sonic the Bad.
It was horrendous. Like it's not that it's bad. Like it's competently made. I get that, but it pissed me off that in the opening minutes of the film, they're going down like a fucking highway in New York, underneath, round this bridge where there's this dinosaur, and then all of a sudden they're at Jane's Carousel in New York. I'm like, that's not there. Like, I know where you were in both of those things, and you're fucking miles apart. That put me into such a bad mood within minutes. It was never going to work for me. And every decision the characters made throughout, utterly stupid. I'm like, I can't watch this. It's driving me mad.
So you go past the feeling a bit sad for the old brachiosaur with some graffiti on its leg. Who's holding up traffic?
Yeah. The problem, like, I've got no real nostalgia for the Jurassic franchise. Like, the original film I saw in the cinema, I don't think I've seen it fully since. I remember thinking it was fine back then. I didn't love it. I don't love it now. The first one of the Ron Howard's daughter, like, that was all right, but the 2 sequels were shit. So I'm not going into this film thinking I'll give it a chance because I like what's gone before. I don't like a lot of what's gone before, so I don't really care about this franchise. And then when they're in the water heading to the island, and there's another boat of a guy who's decided to circumnavigate the world with his daughter, who's shit scared of dinosaurs, going through dinosaur infested water. Like, at what point, as a grown adult, do you think that is a wise move?
With the other ones, with his older daughter's bum boyfriend.
Yeah, like, I would assume, I've never done it because I won't go on a fucking boat like that, but I would assume that's the kind of thing you need all hands on deck, not having some dipshit who's deciding to just nap it off throughout the rest of the day. Just like every character was an absolute dipshit in this film. I say this film, in the 57 minutes of the film I watched, there were such morons. I'm like, if you don't all die, I'm going to be annoyed, but I'm just going to have to leave because that's the safest option here. Yeah, I couldn't even get through an hour of it. It was maddening.
So next week when you're less angry and you go back and watch it properly.
I'm not seeing it. I won't watch it.
And you'll come back and you'll enjoy it, and then you'll see the Mongosaurus at the end.
One of the beginning scenes when they're in the lab and like what I assume is supposed to be a version of a T-Rex somehow escapes. And I just kind of thought at this point, I'm like, this has happened so many times. Why would you persist with it? Like, it's farcical. And like, I understand it's a different world, but it just doesn't make any sense to keep continuing with it. So on that note, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to be watching these films. So bad. Did you actually enjoy it, or did you just think it was a film that I've now seen?
Oh no, I enjoyed it. How stupid it was. I thought it was better than Dominion, the original version of Dominion I watched. When I watched Dominion Extended Edition, which is only 15 minutes more, I enjoyed that a hell of a lot more than I did the first version. I don't know why. But this, it was just silly nonsense. It was like Lost World. It was like, I mean, like even Jurassic Park 3. That was better than this. But this was, we knew, I had no expectation of it going in at all. I thought, well, it's got no recurring characters anyway. We all know this regardless. You're using the same exact thing as The Lost World, which again, it's part of the books anyway, so whatever. Even though there's only 2. Is there? Is it 2 novels?
I believe so, yeah.
There's 2 really thick novels, are they? And the whole idea of, dinosaurs are boring now. Yeah, we did that last time. So we did that with Indominus Rex in Jurassic World, and that was the whole point. So this being the breeding ground of where things all went wrong for that film, I'll get it. Yeah, it's an excuse to be monster creators and make things look ridiculous, which they very much do in this. But it was not. It didn't make me mad. I mean, everything I expected to happen happened. And I came out. I thought, oh, okay, that was fun. But I haven't thought about it really much since. I just thought I just enjoyed it. I mean, you're probably getting like 6, 7 or something like that. If enjoyment factor, I'll do a lot of other worse things with my time than watch that film. And that is adoring the first one, and probably. When I said at the time, the first one's a 10 for me, one of the few. Jurassic World is probably a 9, and they go down as they go. So 2's worse than the first, 3's worse than 2, and then the same with the other ones. This is probably somewhere just there. It doesn't need to exist. It's there to make money. It's there to make toys. There's one dinosaur that the little girl you know, the autistic girl in that family,
Yeah.
the one who's scared of water. Yeah, she befriends one of them, and it's like they reskinned a porg,
Right.
and they crossed a porg with a triceratops and put it in a bag. I thought, well, there's your little merchandise opportunity for film. Yeah. So I was hoping
I knew I was going to hate it, but I didn't think I'd hate it as much as I did.
I was hoping you get to that part just to see when it comes and crawls up to her and sleeps next to her on the log.
Absolutely not.
Again, an actual thing that happens. It's been over 3 weeks.
No, no. Like I said, it's as bad as Thor 4. I genuinely think Thor: Love and Thunder is one of the worst films ever made with like a $200 million budget, and this was rivaling that because it did absolutely nothing. It's on that island with Thor 4 and Joker Folie à Deux as well. It's just shit. Terrible. Up next, The Frozen Ground. Welcome back to the final part of the podcast. Stu, this film was based on real events, apparently. It's not anything I know anything about whatsoever, this film.
I'd seen it before. I thought I had. As soon as it started, I thought, yeah, I've seen this before. We watched this years ago. Going through the whole, women just love true crime kind of genre, and there being many of them. This was one of them ones where, it's an adaptation of true crime, which I don't think I've seen a documentary on this specific serial killer itself. So I think that's why we watched this. But I love it. I love police procedural, as we all know. I love these kind of things, things like the killing and the bridge, and like you Swedish stuff, that then gets adapted and is never any good here. But
never is it?
No, but things like that, all in for love it. So this, I remember really enjoying it at the time. I think second time around, it was like, okay. It's been a long time since I watched this, but I remember too much of it to judge it again with new eyes, even though I'd only seen it once. So, I mean, what does that mean? Does that mean that it obviously made an impact on me, that it's still buried inside my head somewhere? It's like, I don't think there's any real bad performances in it. I know it prodded at times, but I thought, well, is that deliberate to kind of portray the openness of the wilderness and all this kind of thing?
I think it was a bit boring in parts. I think is the problem. Like it could be exciting because there are parts of it which you think. Obviously, it's a story about a serial killer who's got multiple women that he's been preying on throughout, decade plus. There should be an element of excitement's not the right word, but there should be some kind of cat and mouse game going on here. So it should be a will they, won't they catch him kind of thing. And it never really felt like that to me. It just felt like they were telling us what was happening and not showing us a lot of the toing and froing, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't, there's no tension behind any of this film for me. It's a bit of a letdown.
It felt like, and this is second time around as well. So it felt like it was, you get certain documentaries where they do dramatizations of what's happened, and then you have voiceovers of that. That's what it felt like in large parts, because other than the things like where you've got her dancing as a stripper and all the stuff with 50 Cent as a pimp, which is funny.
With the worst wig we have ever seen. And we've seen some stinkers in Nick Cage films, but good God.
Yeah, other than things like that and other side stories that didn't really go anywhere, and it's last week on the job. He probably wasn't his last week on the job, was it? We don't need to go Danny Glover on this all the time.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of tropes that didn't need to be in there. But it is what it is. You're filling for time because there wasn't even any like red herrings. Like I was been trying to remember was it deliberately focusing on him? Was it him or was it someone else? There was never any of that. It was obvious who it was straight away.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and like there was no point where it wasn't blatantly obvious of what was about to happen next in every scene.
Yeah.
There was no just tease me a little bit, just make me think maybe he might get away with it, even though I know it's a true story and they know who the killer is. Just make me believe for a second that this isn't just going to be his downfall. And like they didn't do any of it throughout the whole movie. Well, there was nobody who was outright bad either. It's not like it's a terribly acted film. It was just insanely paint by numbers. Like you said, it just hits every trope of the genre that you expect as well.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the one difference. Like when I watched it before, I didn't know it was a true story.
Okay.
So going in with a completely blank slate, and it's a story about a serial killer. Is he going to get away? Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much more because it's like, well,
maybe.
Okay, it's just a story. It is what it is. Rather than being this, we all know how this ends kind of thing. But normally that wouldn't matter. Like things like what's that one with Eric Bana? Where he's playing the Australian criminal.
Bumper Stamper. Oh no, that was Russell Crowe, wasn't it?
Fighting around the world. Eric Bana. Let's have a look.
I can't even remember what it is. Like, I'm just thinking of Incredible Hulk that he did, obviously, isn't that one?
No.
Or Hulk, rather, wasn't it, that one?
Chopper.
Yes. Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah. Like Chopper, like how Chopper's gonna end. But Chopper's brilliant film. Not many people have seen it, but the sense of it either. But that's great. Whereas this is very paint by numbers, which is disappointing.
Yeah, it didn't do much for me, and I've got to say, I don't think it helps that just like on an artistic side, it almost looked like it was sepia throughout. Like there wasn't a lot of it didn't pop at any point. There was nothing visually exciting to look at, and there was nothing exciting within the story either. So the whole thing just made for a kind of bland retelling of a story that, like, it could have been an email kind of thing. Is the joke here? There was just nothing about this movie that made me like. I wouldn't recommend this to a soul. I know we normally ask that later, but if someone said like, "Oh, good true crime films," this isn't hitting the list.
No, and it's disappointing because I was excited to rewatch this again.
Yeah.
When I thought, I have seen this before, and I was convinced I had, and I have. I enjoyed it the first time, so I don't know. It might be a very different thing if you go in open-minded and you don't know exactly what it's about.
Yeah, maybe
You'll get a lot more out of it, but maybe that is why it is like it is, because they expect you to know how it ends, and they expect you to kind of, he's not going to escape. How this, he's going to end up like this. We're going to be told about the victims and all this kind of thing. And considering it's in the frozen ground, you'd think, the white of the snow would pop a lot more, like you said. It doesn't.
No, none of it. Like it feels very TV movie-esque. And like we've seen a lot of TV movies lately in the just because we're picking up the dregs of Cage's career at this point. This kind of fits in with a lot of those, which is a shame, really, because this is a good cast. I mean, obviously you got Cage. I like Vanessa Hudgens. I like John Cusack, Dean Norris, Mike McGrady. Like it's a solid enough cast that I'm kind of amazed I hadn't seen it before when I look at who's in this movie. And now I've seen it, I'm kind of like, I wish I hadn't have bothered, because that's harsh. It's not that I wish I hadn't, because I don't think this is a bad film. I just think it's a very boring film that I will probably I'll never think about again, let alone watch.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's like the most 3-star film of all time. Like
Mhm.
a movie that's been made.
Yeah, it was just there, and I think it probably would have done better as a Netflix two-parter.
Yeah. Give me a documentary about this guy. Like that would probably be more interesting than this very straight retelling of things.
Mm.
And I think, like, just looking on, on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience score is 50%. So 50% of the people said they liked it, 50% of the people said they didn't like it. And I absolutely get that, because I sort of feel like I'm in agreement. It is the most 50-50 film.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah,
And
well,
yeah,
there you are. I'm 50-50 with myself. So
yeah. Like, it's made no impact whatsoever. If it was a terrible film, we could take the piss. It's not. If it was a great film, we could wax lyrical, and it's not. It's just there.
and this is what I was explaining to people last week, that obviously this podcast comes up, and like, the first question is always why, and then it's, oh, what's the best one and what's the worst? And I said, well, I'm gonna tell you the worst, or the actual worst. That's obviously next. Um, but there's so much middle of the road stuff where he's fining, there's nothing necessarily wrong with the film, and yet you're never going to think about it again. And there's stuff like Pay the Ghost that's shit that you remember off the top of your head straight away. But there's so many others, like This Is Going to Be one, where you look at it and think, we definitely watched that. What's it about? And you really think, oh yeah, it was that.
Mm.
And that's exactly
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah. There's so many films like that, I think. Coming to this part of Cage's filmography now, the bad films tend to be bad enough that, like, Left Behind, I've got a bit of a soft spot for. It's a terrible, terrible movie, but I have got a soft spot for it. Whereas we've got stuff like you say, Pay the Ghost, we've got The Frozen Ground, we've got the one from a few weeks ago where he was a copper in that small town in Massachusetts, and I've already forgotten the name because it was so inconsequential.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
got a lot of these films, and this is Cage's worst for me. It's not the bad films, it's the forgettable films that are the ones.
Yeah.
Like, I will take a Left Behind because I can watch that and I can laugh and I can appreciate the stupidity of it. Whereas if you give me, let me have a look for a film in the list on here that Bangkok Dangerous. What was Bangkok Dangerous, Stu?
We watched that a few weeks ago. That was the funny one where they were jumping in the river on the boats.
Yeah.
But that was a
I couldn't tell you anything else, but yeah, I remember that scene. I've no idea what happens in the rest of that film.
It was the one with the mute girl that he fell in love with.
The Humanity Bureau, we watched that at the end of May.
Oh, that was the one where he was the bounty hunter, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one where his son didn't know he was his son, and the mum wasn't the mum, and it was just like,
Yeah,
like,
you go.
We front loaded this podcast with the good and the bad, and now we're just left with the bleh.
Go and have a look at ones round about Pay the Ghost time, because there's a load of them that I'm not going to have any memory of.
Right, okay, let's have a look. I'm going to have a look on the podcast feed because I don't think I've got all the notes for these ones. Right, let's go back. Good God, years ago. Okay, right, Stu. So, what is that one? Oh, Seasons of the Witch. I remember that because his eye exploded.
Yeah. See, this is why we do this podcast.
It is, isn't it? Like, these are the good things, I think, at this point. I haven't even put this, the most 90s film, the most 90s looking film ever. Nick Cage and Simon West managed to make a film set in the 2010s that looks 90s as fuck. Another film you should be glad we took the hit on watching, so you don't have to. I haven't even put the name of the film in that review. Right, Nicolas Cage and Simon West. So let's see. That's not Con Air because they did that together. Stolen. Stolen is the film in question. I remember this one because it starts off with Nick Cage, Marlon Ackerman, and I think Josh Lucas was the third one in the film. They do a robbery and they get caught. They hide the money, and then Nick Cage goes to jail. He comes back out. His daughter gets kidnapped, locked in the trunk of a taxi,
Oh, yes.
and they're trying to find it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one.
12 hours, $10 million, one kidnapped daughter, stolen. But this is the problem with Nick Cage. It's not the good films, it's not the bad films, it's the bang down the line, the mediocre stuff that's instantly forgettable. And there's, especially during the dark times, there's probably too much of that, I think, is the issue.
There's probably, out of the 117, there's probably 50 that are excellent or ridiculously bad.
Yeah. Right, so what's this one? So Trespass. Now, looking at the picture on Trespass, I thought that was Inconceivable. Well, there's two films that could be the same.
Inconceivable's the one.
Inconceivable. I loved Inconceivable.
Yeah.
It's terrible. That's the one with he's married to Gina Gershon and Nikki Whelan's in it. The very hot Nikki Whelan, who was also in Left Behind, who plays the was she a surrogate or
the surrogate
infiltrates their life, doesn't she?
She lives in the garden shed.
Yes. Oh, and Trespass is the one with Nicole Kidman. That's the Your Filthy Lust, Let Them In. These are the good ones though. Like these are terrible films that were fun, at least. USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage. Now, we watched that one recently, and I remember that, weren't they looking after Native Americans?
Yeah.
And that's all I can remember about it. Like, there's a few too many of those. Rage. Which one was Rage?
We didn't watch that.
Oh,
long ago.
The Tokarov one, wasn't it? The gun.
Yeah.
Because it had the weird title. It made no sense. Yeah. This is going to fall into the middle of all of his nonsense. Because it's not a particularly terrible film. But it's also not one that's going to make any impact. Like in 12 months' time, I'll have as much memory about this as I do Time to Kill, 1989. Do you remember that one, Stu?
Is that the one where he's jumping on the freeways?
No, this is 1936. The Italian army is invading Ethiopia. Lieutenant Silvestri, who suffers from toothache, decides to go to the nearest fort, but the surprises are not over. I don't remember anything.
That's the one where we thought he got AIDS.
Oh my God, I forgot. Like, we watched that one recently as well, if I remember rightly. And yeah, I've got very little recollection. Like the Cotton Club, that's another one that in 12 months' time, and we watched it, like, was it last week, was it, Stu?
Yeah, they were 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago in our life, but I've got no recollection. Like, I've forgotten most of that film already. Yeah, this is one of those for me. It's nothing. It's a nothing burger of a movie, this one. Did you like the film, Stu?
Yes, first time, second time, not really. No, I'm not. It dragged the second time round, so I'm judging it on that one alone because I can't really remember the first. And I guess, well, you watch it first time around and you enjoy it, and then you kind of swept up in the moment of it all. If you watch it a second time and it's bad, then that's not a good sign. It's not going to get any better after that. So I'm going to go say no, I didn't really.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it was just a bit dull. There's a bit too much plodding. Like, I think watch an episode of CSI. It's 45 minutes. It tells you the story. it shows you the hunt, it gives you the killer, job's done. And this could have been an episode of CSI. If this was an hour long, it would be a lot more exciting. But it was 100 minutes and it didn't need to be. I think that was the problem.
Well, you compare this. I know we get to it in a minute, but if you enjoyed this, but
Mhm.
compare this to the Dharma series on Netflix. How good that was.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that was sort of perfect that it gave you a bit of it. This didn't either because like an episode of CSI gives you a high level overview. The Dharma series gives you an in-depth look into the character. This didn't either.
No.
And that sort of really screwed it, I think. Stu, do you remember Seeking Justice? I'm just looking through his old films now, see what pops. I think you'll remember it when I tell you what happens, but
Seeking Justice. I've got a picture of him on the top of a cliff. I'm not
are
sure if
you
that's this
thinking
one.
of the rape film?
Yes. Yeah.
What was that one called? It wasn't Love, was it? Fuck. I remember that one. Seeking Justice is the one. I know, I think this is the one where he throws the nonce off the underpass. Yes, it is. It's the one with January Jones plays his wife. She gets raped. Guy Pearce comes along and says, "I'll fuck that guy up, but you owe me a favor." And then he kills that nonce under the underpass, but it turns out that he's not a paedophile. And
Yeah.
yeah, this could be a fun game of Stu. Do you remember the one with the one on the mountaintop? Because he shoots that guy in the face with a sawn-off shotgun, doesn't he? Right, I'm gonna have to find that one. Maybe it is Love. Vengeance, a love story.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they wanted to call it Rape, a love story, if I remember correctly, which is a fucking terrible idea for a film then. Yeah, that's the one. 'Cause he plays the cop, doesn't he? And that woman gets brutally assaulted within like 3 minutes of the film opening while she's with her child. It's such a weird one. As for the question, I didn't enjoy the film either. Was Nick Cage good or bad? I think he was fine. He did what he needed to. He
Yeah.
didn't excel, but he didn't drag the film down either. I think the three of them, Cusack and Vanessa Hudgens as well, I think that they were all pretty decent. And with a better script, this would have been a good film. It's not on the acting. I think it's on the script, personally.
Yeah. It's on the script. It's on. Not so much the direction either, because a lot of that's fine. I think it's edited really badly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of. It goes from long, drawn out segments to then cut. Not quite green grass like, but it doesn't seem to be melded together very well either. Which, when we're saying it's boring as well, you can kind of tell how bad this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cage was fine. So yeah, he goes in the good box just for this.
Oh, I've got two films mixed up. Wind Talkers was going to be the next film I was going to ask you about. That's the one where they're protecting the Navajo. So which one is the USS Indianapolis?
USS Indianapolis is the one, the sinking of the ship that in
Yes.
with really bad
Oh,
CG.
Yeah. There you go. Kiss of Death. We've done that, haven't we? He's got a terrible goatee. With David Caruso, Samuel L. Jackson, and Nick Cage with a shit goatee. I don't remember this one. A reformed convict goes undercover with the help of an angry detective to ensnare a psychotic mobster. I don't remember that show.
Let's have a look.
The Tooch is in it.
Kiss of Death.
I'm sure we've seen it because we've seen both of the films he's done with the Tooch. Helen Hunt, Ving Rhames, Michael Rappaport. Is that the one where he kills them at the end, but it's not really them? Because there's one where What's the film where he's like somebody's nephew? That might be. It's not Never on a Tuesday.
Hang on, 50 hours.
Welcome to the podcast, Remembering Cage.
Look at the photos of this film on IMDb.
I remember looking at the cast, like I'm certain we've done it, but I just
Yeah, I think we have.
terrible. Stu, if you liked The Frozen Ground, you may also like.
Zodiac.
Mm.
An
Good
actual good film about a serial killer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
The two that I've got, I couldn't quite separate them, and they're both starring Robin Williams as the bad guy. It's either 1 Hour Photo or it's Insomnia.
Mhm.
I think Insomnia, like, it sort of fits in because it's set in the Arctic Circle, so you've got a lot of the snow and stuff as well. So it probably matches up closer to Frozen Ground. Great film, Al Pacino, and obviously it's Chris Nolan, isn't it? One of his first big films, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
And obviously, yeah, Hilary Swank's in it too. So, yeah, I'd probably edge for Insomnia. I think that was an interesting film. But 1 Hour Photo is a very good performance from Robin Williams too. So, yeah, either one of them two. Right, okay. So that's another Nick Cage film in the record books. What are we doing next time? Let me have a look. Have we been to August next year? Or have we got one more left this month?
No, we've got one more, I think.
We've got one more left this month. I don't know what we're doing for that one, so we'll find out. We will be watching The Boy in Blue. Also, we'll be doing Nick in the 80s. So The Boy in Blue should be the final Nick Cage film of the 1980s. So I will just double check before we go. But if it is, we'll be doing that. So we'll be ranking our favourites of Nick in the 90s and reviewing The Boy in Blue. I don't know anything about this film, so let me just find out what it is.
Just look at the poster.
Well, how do I say that might be the most homosexual looking poster of the Cage film without sounding too un-PC? I don't think there's a way. It looks very he's appealing to a certain demographic with that picture.
You know the that bodybuilding thing video in the 80s? Not the Arnie one. The other one where they all dance on, and they're all kind of in what are they? The long socks up to the, like.
Yeah.
You know they're on top.
I do. Yeah. It's giving that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the champions. It's that thing. I don't know what it's called though, or what it's even from. It's not even bodybuilding. It's like an aerobic workout video.
Yeah. What's the John Travolta film from the 80s? Staying Alive.
Yeah,
Saturday Night Live, and Staying Alive is the sequel, isn't it, with Jamie Lee Curtis? It looks like Staying Alive.
Yeah.
Like with the headband and everything. It is a biography about the famous sculler Ned Hanlon. What the fuck's a sculler, Stu?
The Sculler.
Yeah, it's a biography of the famous sculler Ned Hanlon, who led a colourful life as a bootlegger at the turn of the 20th century. I don't even know what a sculler is. Sculler meaning... That's a scullery. No, I say scullery is a kitchen. Sculler, a person who sculls a boat propelled with a scull.
Oh, like you coxes and stuff like that, like in rowing.
Okay. Right, yeah, that's what it looks like. So he's the guy who's shouting row, I presume. Oh, that's going to be great. Dear me. It's directed by Charles Jarriott. I've not heard of him before. He is known for The Secret Life of Algernon, Anne of the Thousand Days, A Promise Kept, the Oksana Bowell story, and an episode of Encounter. I don't know this guy. Oh my God. This is going to be one of Cage's forgotten films, isn't it? I can see it now. Brilliant.
You took a bit on PC stuff. Remember the excellent one season wonder of Come Fly With Me on BBC.
Yeah. Horrific.
Not horrific, amazing. But James and David had actually turned the immigration game into an actual game. So it's a mere seconds on screen, and freeze framing it and zooming in, and cropping. It took them a month to recreate the immigration game, and we played it when it was over there. It was brilliant. I thought, yeah, this is why Waddington's didn't commission it, because it's. I mean, I'm amazed it was on BBC in 2010, let alone anything else.
Yeah.
We watched a couple of episodes of the forgotten show that can never be mentioned ever again.
Yeah, definitely. Right, make sure you've got us on whatever podcast you listen to us on, and a 5-star review would be fantastic. At Cage Fighting Pod on the socials, and cagefightingpod@gmail.com if you've got any emails you want to get in contact about. For this week, Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah, goodbye, everyone. Only my voice will be completely back next week, so we can talk about this nonsense again.
It's goodbye from me too. And remember, be excellent to each other.